Hello, all my ghosts, ghouls, and goblins, and of course, if you don't know which one you are, then you're a ghoul. It is Damon the Scorpion Pill from a Cyclone of Fright. As you can see, I am alone today, and that means it's another lore video. Now, I know last time I was thinking that I might do Fontume or Jenna Fullbane, and those are coming up, but not quite yet. Mainly because I need a little bit more time for those ones because I decided to do things a little bit differently. And I'm sure, as you might have noticed by now, if you are watching the video, I'm in a little bitty box in the corner. And the actual screen is taken up by a picture. I think that's how I'm going to do some of these lore videos from now, is draw some hand-drawn pictures, be it me or my sister, which she helped me today. She drew all of them except for one, which we collaborated on. I mean, we technically collaborated on all of them because I worked with her to tell her what I needed drawn because she's a better drawer than me, as you'll see, because we're also going to start drawing our own thumbnails, and yeah. Hopefully that will actually make it where you guys like the looks of it more. We do try to do these videos in a way where you can just watch them as you're doing anything else. I mean, it's more of a listen thing. I do think I look funny from time to time, so looking over might give you a good old chuckle looking at me. But for the most part, we try to make it where you guys can easily listen to these videos, and you don't have to be super hardcore focused watching. And these ones are going to be no different. It's going to be still images that will last for like the minute or two that I'm talking about a certain subject. Anyways, let's get in. Today's lore video is going to be over the file notes. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, the hell is that? And you're not entirely wrong. If you haven't read the books, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. Um, I'm going to switch to big screen for me for a moment, and give me just a sec. I'll be right back. Come on. Come on. Okay. Of course, this is the one I find. But file notes in the books are that it's just a little thing that talks about like the different characters, or like before the horror movie villains themselves. It's goes into detail. Here we are. Here's Coat Crimson. It's a better example. Don't know how much you can actually see there, but you get the gist. It talks like age, weight, things like that. It just goes through and tells a little bit about it for the character, like what they're into, their appearance. And for the killers, it goes into like what their backstories is, what their movies are, what weapons they prefer to use, what their MO is. Like, are they a stealth killer, or are they more of a just barge in and just start hacking and slashing? All things that for the killer hunters, since these horror movie villains are real, or at least they come to actual life and they have to combat them. Like, those are important things to know because they do tend to stick to the source material, so to speak. So, like, if in the movie they tend to prefer a certain style, that's going to be the style they tend to prefer in when they come out, when Puluasore makes them materialize, and then they come into our world and create fear. So, while the killer hunters didn't initially know that would be helpful, the fact that when they were young, I believe it's around like 8ish when things start to go really down here for them. But I'm not going to talk too much about that because that's going to be in a book 4, in case you were wondering. But so we're not going to go into their early years yet. But at a certain point, they were just huge horror movie aficionados. Like, that's just what they love to do. Them and Sapphire Shield would stay up all night at the orphanage when they could, sneak around and do it. And they'd watch horror movies that they'd get their hands on. Now, back then it was just a joy thing. It was just, good fun. But once they found out that, oh my god, the villains from these movies are real, or at least they appear to be real for a certain amount of time, things started to change. And it wasn't like super fast. It wasn't like instant. But after a certain amount of time and seeing that it was a recurring thing, like it wasn't just one horror movie villain or two horror movie villains. Like there were plenty of horror movie villains that they encountered over the years, leading up to their time at Lyrewood Falls. And, yeah, leading up to the time there, leading up to the time with Adrestia, like all of that. Before they got to that point, like they encountered a lot of horror movie villains. And that led them to know that, like, it's not, only this particular one tends to be real, like, off the wall chance. Like, no, like, more and more of them are real. And with that, they started to, well, Crimson at least decided that they needed to do something. They needed to try and, figure out what would help them survive the most, especially since, like, during his time with Adrestia, he was thinking about putting down roots and trying to actually find a place where they could live, and they'd go out and, hammer into the killers themselves so that the killers wouldn't have to bother coming to them. So, with that in mind, he started doing the file notes. Now, some of the file notes predate the time with Adrestia, because some of them, are probably the first couple of them age from, I'd say they're probably around 12 when they started their first couple of file notes. The first file note, because Crimson is number 2 and Lance is number 3, the first one is actually Sapphire Shield, their friend from the orphanage. Now, she didn't make the file note herself, unfortunately. Situations occurred. But, yeah, they, in honor of her, made one for her. And after that, they slowly started to do it. Like, in a lot of those years before they met Adrestia, it's not like they had much access to watch horror movies either. But as they did, they'd slowly start filling out, Crimson came up with a little thing of information he thought would be helpful, and he'd start filling them out. And he would get Lance too, as well. Lance wasn't necessarily, like, homework. Yeah. He was more focused on other things than that. So Lance's files aren't their best. Crimson's can be a little over-detailed, but sloppily written. Adrestia actually wrote some file notes for them during their time with her. Ruby's even done a couple of file notes. I don't know if we've been introduced to any of the ones that they particularly wrote yet. Because their hand style is much, much better. Because each of the file notes are handwritten. So, yeah, you can actually tell who did most of them based on the writing style. Like, if it's a sloppy one you see, then you know it was Crimson. If it's just kind of plain, probably Lance. If it's, like, elegant, it was probably one of the girls. Let's be honest there. But, yeah, so the file notes came about as a way to, help them with future endeavors. Because it was helpful, like, look at this. It's a abandoned school. Well, horror movie villains like to go to abandoned schools. So you'd look through the file cabinets, you'd find location, which would be abandoned school. Then you'd start looking for different factors that could go. Like, for instance, in the first book, they were, the only thing of note in the town was a cornfield. So they went, Crimson looked at cornfield as far as in his file notes, and that led him to the different scarecrows, which are the main things appearing in cornfields. Nowadays, in actual horror movies, they put everything in a cornfield. I think they just released a movie like Clown in a Cornfield. Sounds more like a old country hick song than a horror movie, but anyways, that is helpful. It's like, oh, let's see, once a note, because he'll look up the towns, obviously. It's like, once a note, oh, there's an abandoned place where kids like to hang out. Well, clearly, if you've ever watched a horror movie, that's gonna be the location where things go down. And then you go from there. It's like, who tends to frequent this place? And from there, you can narrow it down even more. And that actually is helpful because they can know what gear to bring. Because there's the standard gear that they'll bring on everything. But if you know you're going up against a specific type of enemy or something more particular, like you bring better stuff or you can be more prepared. Like with the cornfield, they brought fire because it was most likely a scarecrow, and yeah. So yeah, the file notes came about from Crimson's just need to be prepared for things because of wanting to advance how long him and Lance lives. Because you have to remember, that's Crimson's whole point, is he just wants to keep living despite how bad things might have been for the two of them. He's not willing to give up. And even with, traumatic things that happen or unfortunate things that might happen in his life, he still wants to keep going and he's not willing to give up. And the file notes are kind of his way of fighting back, even when he's not actually fighting back, because it's preparing for it. It's the same reason why he spends so much time like working on their gear, trying to think of more stuff or trying to improve what they have. It's all about keeping them alive. That's why him and little Lexi might have some disagreements, because he can be seen as a dick munch, and the whole fact of, like, if someone's not willing to get over the fact that there's the killer there and they just saw someone get murdered and they're wanting to focus on that, he has no time for that. You either get over it for the moment because you want to live, or like he's going to leave you behind for the killer. There's not really in between, because his focus is, yes, he wants to stick it to the killer. Yes, he wants to help some people live if he can. But it's not worth his or little Lexi's or Lance's lives. So that's where the file notes come in. They're helpful for that. Or, like, without the file notes, I'm not saying this is true or not, but without the file notes, the last picture here is kind of what Crimson imagines it would be like. This picture here is the one that we actually worked together on. We call it the Killer Dance Party. Because over here on the left, you have Chris Cross, followed by Jenna Fulbane, Isaac the Killer Marionette, and Michael Carpenter, so the big four. And in the corner, kind of like a creepy Teletubby son, you can see Pulu Osore's face, a little disco ball, like dead people everywhere as they just get the groove thing on. Yeah, we had fun drawing that one, and that's kind of what his mental image is without the file notes, because then they're going into everything unprepared. It does help to know your enemy. It helps to know what you're getting into. It helps to know what weapons you might be looking at. Because you have to remember, with what they're fighting, they're basically, well, not even just basically, they are humans going up against creations from the god of fear himself. And what horror movie has it where, even if it's a human in the horror movie, like, they're still souped up human. They're human plus. I don't know about you, as a human myself, you whack me over the head with a 2x4, hit me with a semi-truck, throw me into a lake with some bricks tied to my feet, I'm probably down for the count. But in a horror movie, even if they're supposed to be just human, like, they just shrug that off. It's like, yeah, that was nothing, man. Give me your best shot next time. It's like, my best shot? That was my best shot. But yeah, so as humans going up against these supernaturally gifted creations from the god of fear, like, they need something in their corner. And what they have in their corner is, the file notes. So I know people probably don't think much of it. Some people probably skip over them. But I actually do spend a decent amount of time and effort thinking of these file notes. And the ones for actual like characters like Crimson or Lance are wrote by the character themselves. So it gets across some of their personality as well on how they feel about their appearance or how they feel about their hobbies, their interest. You can see a little bit of the character's own personality in the file note. It also kind of lets you, create a mental image of it a little bit better. Because I do describe them, but since it's a first person point of view, like Crimson might not be interested in what someone else looks like. So my description for that other character is going to be pretty, quick and probably, I'm not going to say dirty, but it's going to be leaving things to be desired most likely because he doesn't care as much. Lance, if it's a, attractive female, you will probably get a little bit more of a description, but it'll probably focus on different areas. So since I do that, the file notes themselves are a good thing for you to see and for you to make your own mental images. I do have pictures, but I like you to be able to make your own mental image. And you can be like, Colt Crimson, okay, he's 5'6", he's 100 pounds, brown hair. Like, you can create your own image in there. It's kind of like Weird Science, how they create their own dream girl. Like, I give you all the tools there to create your own mental image, cast your own mental actors, whatever it is you like to do. Um, as far as, like, their actual base, I don't think it's any secret that, you know, Crimson and Lance are based on me and my buddy in a game we used to play that we called the Killer Hunters back in the day. And after watching horror movies all night, we'd go outside. It was pitch black, and we'd act like, we were chasing them down. Like, oh my god, did you see that? Over there in the abandoned trailer? That window just moved. Oh no, the window didn't move, man. It was, Cape going through. Oh, a cape? That must mean it was Ghostface. Like, that type of stuff, and we'd freak ourselves out, and it was good fun. And that's where those come from. So, of course, Crimson and Lance, their descriptions do kind of lean towards like me and of course him. But feel free to cast whoever you think would be fitting to the role in your mind. Feel free to do whatever mental image you want to for them. But yeah, so the file notes I feel like help with that. It helps for you to do that. It helps for me to, really keep track of characters that I have that are more important because they get a file note. It helps me when I'm writing the backstories of the killers or the villains, or at least like the in-universe movies, because then I have something to go back to and look at in case I'm like writing their scene, which could be, chapters later, books later, and I need to refresh myself. So it's a good tool for that too. Originally, I kind of thought about keeping the file notes out of the books, but I think they're a good tool. I like them. And it kind of shows you, like, Crimson's attitude, that he takes these diligent notes, and he looks at them so often. So, I felt like it told you more about Crimson as a character, too. I know you guys probably wasn't expecting to get a whole lore video based on solely the file notes, but I think they are an important part of the story, and they actually deserve this. Lance, while he doesn't like doing the file notes, he admits that they're important. Little Lexi is starting to work on file notes herself, and she's starting to see the importance of them. Because, once again, little Lexi, she's not quite as brawny as the two guys, of course, but she does have some brains on her. Like, that's something she can really shine on if she polishes it, and Crimson's going to try and help her with that. Because in case of something happening to Crimson, because he's always thinking about that, because you have to remember, he wants to protect them so bad he usually throws himself up front. Like, he's willing to not sacrifice himself because he's not wanting to die, but if it means saving the other ones, he's willing to go through pain, he's willing to go through hell, and if need be, he would die for them. So, that's the whole reason he accepted little Lexi into the group, is because he knows she's smart, he knows she's witty, and those are tools that Lance doesn't necessarily have. Lance is great on reflexes. He's great on strength and athletic prowess, but he's not a strategizer by any means. Crimson feels like little Lexi can be a strategizer, and that's the important part. He wants to get someone who he felt would still complement well with Lance. So, yeah, and that's why he is trying to instill in her an importance factor for the file notes. So the file notes are not going anywhere anytime soon. You will see file notes in every book, I promise you. And even maybe some bonus content I make will probably have freaking file notes in it. Just because I enjoy them, I do feel they serve a role that is important. It's kind of like a Fantôme. I use her to skip past parts that I feel like would be boring for you to read, boring for me to write, and I don't really want to just yada yada the time skip. I still want to clearly indicate of what was going on or what was happening, and Fantôme works perfectly for that. She's also, a great narrator. So there's certain aspects of my books that I have got canned on a little bit. People might not necessarily like it, but it's my writing style, and I do feel like it's important for the story I'm telling. So they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Fantôme's not going anywhere anytime soon. The file notes aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And guys, I have to say, one of the biggest grieves I've got from the first book has been that little Lexi wasn't on par with Crimson and Lance. It was her first mission. She was never going to be on par with them. Like, it's a whole different experience. This is someone, like, pretty much seeing their first actual dead bodies versus people who have been seeing dead bodies for the last, 20 years. Not by choice, mind you, but have actually been actively doing this for 20 years. Like, there's going to be a difference in mindset and a difference in how they handle it. Also, I get a lot of grief because in a chapter where we're doing a reminiscent thing, so a flashback of little Lexi when she's like 13, she's not quite comfortable in her body yet. She's not quite comfortable with certain things, sizes, and people have an issue with that. That's just unfortunately a true factor of life. People have insecurities. Lance has insecurities. Crimson has insecurities. All my characters have insecurities because the real. And like I said, some of that comes across with the file notes a little bit better, and then others show up in the writing. Because even in the file notes, if you go through and read each one, you can actually kind of pinpoint where their insecurities are and where they're confident. Because the fact that it's wrote by them and has their hobbies, their interests, their appearance, like all of that stuff, yeah, it's helpful. I think it lets you get to know the characters quite a bit. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the drawings. Like I said, this is something that we're going to be, at least I'm going to be doing for the lore videos, is I'm going to be trying to do some drawings to go along with them, and I'll just be a little box in the corner, which I should be right now, a little corner box. But yeah, I think it's fun. I'm no artist by any means. Like I said, my sister's a better artist than me, as you can tell, versus the ones she did and the one I helped her with, which is the stick figures dancing. But I do find it fun. Like I said, we're going to start drawing some of the thumbnails as well. But I hope you have a good week. She'll be back with me next week. And yeah, I'm trying to talk her into doing her first lore video next month. If she does, I don't want you to get discouraged. I still plan on doing a lore video as well. And if you're like, well, just shut up, we don't care about yours, feel free to leave that in the comments. Once again, we do read the comments that we get, and it'll be one of us that responds. Can't say which, And if we do respond, try to guess which one did respond. But that is it for this lore video. I hope you guys all have a great week. Even if no one's watching these videos, I do find it fun. I do these just as much for myself as I do for you guys. So, yeah. I hope you're enjoying this series of lore videos. I know I like getting more lore from a series I like. Or if you guys haven't read the books yet, I'm hoping these lore videos might like entice you to be like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's some cool lore. I wouldn't mind seeing what that's all about. But yeah, check out the books if you guys want to. They're on Amazon. Subscribe if you want. Like, comment, dislike, hate. I mean, whatever works for you, really. But if you do pick up one of the books, feel free to leave a review. It does help. But everything, is helped by you leaving comments or reviews. It helps the algorithms, so more people find the book. Because I would like more people to find the books. My sister's not necessarily sure she wants to, because she's scared of her book actually picking up momentum and being seen by people. So help me stick it to her. Help me pull a prank on her. Buy her a book. Yeah, that'll teach her not appear in this lore video. Like, what the hell, right? I can't say she won't ever appear in these lore videos. She might. I might drop in on her lore video if I can get her to do one. Who knows what's going to go on exactly, but anyways, I keep rambling on. And I doubt that's really much of a problem as you're, like, over to the right, maybe doing your homework or whatever you do while you listen to this. But to all my ghouls, goblins, and ghosties, you have a great night, a great spooky season. Because every season's spooky season. It doesn't have to be Halloween. It can always be spooky. So, enjoy your guys' night. I will see you guys next time. And remember, this is your one place stop for any type of information about our books, anything else like that. Like, you can always get updates and things here. And if you have specific questions, put them in the comments. Like, as long as it's not a spoiler, we'll probably answer it. So if you had an actual question about the book, I mean, we might answer it in the comment or we might do a video on it. So, yeah. Always worth a try. But you guys have a good one.